All right, and we're live. What's going on, everybody? Good to see all of you here. Good to see all of you here. A little bit of an earlier stream. Hopefully you will enjoy the different timing. I did this 2 weeks ago. I went very live at like 4 p.m., I think, or 3:30, 4 p.m. And a lot of people said, hey, we really enjoyed it because we didn't get to catch the streams for the last 2 or 3 weeks because you've been going live so late. So I've tried to switch things up a little bit. Hopefully we're catching a little bit more of a different audience that's not able to stay up later and or is in Europe. Maybe some of you are in the UK. I know a lot of you watch from England, and so it's still a reasonable time for you guys over there. I believe you guys are about 5 hours ahead, so it's not too late. You can still catch the stream, and it's Saturday. So happy Saturday to everybody. But good to see all of you here. Good to see a lot of you queued up, more than I would have thought, for a Saturday stream at 3:21 p.m., at least Eastern time. But good to see you guys here. Good to see you. Hopefully you had a good day. I got a little haircut. What do you think? I've been going with the fro. You know, so before Sneeko joined my stream 2 nights ago, I was about to do like the Black LARP. I was going to talk about how you really got to play into who you are. You know, so I just grew the fro out. You know, I grew the fro. I had this low cut forever. It just wasn't oriful. It wasn't fire. It just didn't suit me, you know? So got the little fro, got the little curls. Hair's healthier. Put a little some in it. Trimmed it down a little bit. It was getting too long. I don't want a big fro, right? I still want to remain professional to some degree. But, you know, got a little line-up taper. Shout out to my barber. So, yeah, and then I was going to hit the gym. So this was my thought process. And One Chess, shout out to One Chess. He's the one who said, go live on Saturday during the daytime because people enjoy those daytime streams, and a lot of people can't, you know, catch the night streams for obvious reasons, right? People have jobs, whatever have you. So that's fine. But I was thinking to myself, should I go hit the gym and then, you know, run some errands and whatever? And I just got back and I was like, you know what? I'm kind of in a good mood. I'm in a mood to talk. I'm in a mood to just rip the camera on and start yapping. So that's what I did. I was actually going to go live a little bit later. I was going to hit the gym and everything, but I decided, you know, I'm just going to crank up stream now. Who cares? So yeah, that's what we're doing. Hopefully you guys all are having a good day so far. Maybe you're in traffic listening or whatever it is. Someone said black maxing. Yeah, I am black maxing. And you know, I don't want to continuously jump on this whole left and right, and you're like, I don't want to beat a dead horse because Sneeko's an ally, but I have to say, man, the attack I'm getting, like, and it's not even an attack, I'm dragging it, but some of these Muslims are hitting me up in my DM or like commenting under my tweets, and they're like, you're a traitor, you're a race sympathizer, or what are they calling me? Skin worshipping sympathizer. And I'm like, why are you all strawmanning me? Where did you get this from? Okay, Sneeko comes on my stream. We have our debate like usual. He says, Ryad, there's no more left and right. Ryad, you need to look at the bigger picture and be more focused on this one key issue of Israel and everything else. And we had that debate. I really don't even want to talk about it at long lengths anymore because I'm just going to crash out. But people think I'm like, if you watch this show and you watch my streams with my brother, like, you know, the last thing I am is insecure about my skin or like my religion. Like, whatsoever. Bro, I am super secure in that. I have no desire to like branch out and seek approval from anybody. And so there's even a little bit of silliness in me trying to explain this, but I just can't help but explain it because people think that I'm like, and you would know if you watch the streams, like, people think that I'm super straight edge and like trying to act white. It's like, gang, no one's trying to act white. Look at me. God forbid I am Arabic, black, Muslim, born in the United States, and I like the country. God forbid you like this fucking country. Now you fucking hate everybody except white people. And it's like, bro, no. It's like, I like the country. I am more Republican than anything else. Yeah, I guess I'm right wing. Crazy buzz terms here. And now I'm like glazing white people. Where did we draw out that connection? How did that connection ever come about? So it's just been frustrating because all of these Muslims are hitting me up and I'm like, yo, bro, you sound so dumb. Like, you don't even know me. You don't watch any of my stuff. I know not all of them are saying that. I know a lot of them don't say these things and they hit me up and they say, I like what you said. I agree with you, whatever. But, you know, it just gets so frustrating. And I saw this TikTok. I wanted to react to this TikTok, so I'll show you guys in a moment. It's about this black girl who went to Europe and came back because Europe had no fucking AC, no air conditioning. She was in Portugal, and she was saying how there's no advancement, there's no AC, people are dropping dead, there's no this, there's no that. And in the end, she ended up saying in her conclusion, I actually like America now. So, yeah, I am a little bit grateful of this country, and that doesn't mean that I like this country more than I like Islam. I don't know how that makes sense. Obviously, I'm a Muslim first. Obviously, I believe in God first. Obviously, God matters more than a flag. But I think that's such an obvious thing. I don't need to explicitly state that. You know, like, I don't think that I need to explicitly state that, like, hey, guys, I believe in God first, and then I care about the country. Okay, does anybody, like, not know that? That's a given. So it's like, bro, you know, people try to make it seem like I'm cooning. What are they? Toby gonna be good nigga for master. That's pretty funny. But that's the, you know, they're throwing that card at me. I think it's funny, but I'm just super secure in myself. I'm very secure in myself. I am a Muslim all day, every day. I go to the mosque on Jummah, on Friday. I listen to the khutbah. I listen to the speech. I listen to the sermon. I pray. I do my thing. Then I come on here and talk about the news and talk about Huz and talk about my haircut and talk about my car. Really just news, actually. And now I'm cucking for white people. So that's the new narrative. That is the new vague narrative. There's an implication made by all of these Muslims who are attacking me. So I don't want, look, I want unification. But, you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. So, yeah, everybody's like, Ryad, you're glazing the white people. Like, I guess, okay. Let's see, I had a couple chats here. I'm sorry. So let's get to these chats. And then we're going to get into the news. I have an article here by New York Times. Finally, we're reaching a little bit of a pause. The United States and Iran have been going back and forth for the last 13 days over the Strait of Hormuz. If you haven't been paying attention to the news, that's kind of been everything that's, you know, like to be worth talking about. And in this back and forth, the United States has been desperately trying to gain control of the Strait of Hormuz. We had the memorandum of understanding that didn't last so long, and that broke about a month ago. And as a result, the United States started aggressively bombing Iran's coastline in a battle to hopefully achieve some sort of autonomy over the 21-mile passageway that is responsible for 20% of the world's oil supply. Iran has been in control of the strait because of the fact that it is proved to be their only strategic leverage over the United States. So that's paused, and allegedly Netanyahu is going to be in the White House on Monday. Yeah, bad sign, by the way. Or at least at some point early next week is what I'm reading. And so when he meets with Trump, we'll see if hostilities resume, but it seems like Trump is meeting with top advisors now, and he's considering a major escalation in Iran, more than the first one that started on February 28th, breaking into March, where we bombed Iran around 15,000 times. And so Trump is now allegedly considering something as dangerous and aggressive as that, or worse, which would prove disastrous because that's not going to ultimately answer the question, which is how can we regain control of the strait? And my personal opinion, we'll get into it in a moment, my personal opinion is it's likely going to be nearly impossible to gain control of the strait without years and years of back and forth combat and or strikes. So we'll go through that. And that's for many reasons. Spence says, hey, homie, so are Thursdays and Saturdays your new streaming days now? If so, what time? Will you also be streaming with Myron other days? Yeah, honestly, we just play it by ear. Honestly, the schedule is just cooked. I'm sorry. Okay, the schedule is cooked. I've still got a full-time job. I'm still a wagey. And so to find that balance has proven difficult. I'm not going to lie. I thought that it'd be easy. It's not easy. Because the thing is, I can't just go live anytime. My brother and I don't overlap our streams. So if he's live, I won't be live. If I'm live. He won't be live unless we're live together, obviously. So we've just got to find that balance, and it's coming through. I'm kind of finding some consistency. If you've been around, you probably have noticed I've been a little bit more consistent. But I'd say early in the week, I'm usually live once, maybe twice. Mondays and Tuesdays, I've been firing up stream. And then Thursdays, usually always I'm live. And Saturdays, here and there. It really depends. It really depends. But 3 to 4 times a week is the goal. That's the goal. Preferably 4. Tears and Pistols, thank you so much for the 5 gifted. Big supporter of the show. Shout out to you, my friend. God bless. Thank you. And you have been a member for 1 month, so thank you for that. Let's see. Spence is here. I'm in Oregon. I think I'm 3 hours behind you. Yes, you are. You are 3 hours behind me. Red Pill. Sneeko making y'all look bad. He is doing more damage than Alex Jones in PBD. Oh, okay. You're supporting Sneeko and your name's Red Pill? Sneeko doesn't like the Red Pill, so maybe you should change your name. Oh, do you mean, okay, I apologize. I misread. Are you saying he's making us look bad? As in, like, Muslims? Okay, I misunderstood you. I apologize. Look, look, I told him the clip in New York was a little crazy, but it's fine. I wouldn't say he's making us look bad. I don't want to, by the way, I don't want to fight him. Red Pill, thanks for the 5. I understand what you mean now. I misunderstood that. I don't want to fight him. Look, I don't want to fight Sneeko. I texted him earlier. I said, nigga, let's stop fighting each other. And he just keeps calling me a slave. He's texting me, calling me a slave. I'm like, bro, I'm not a slave, though. I'm just politically aware. Gang, listen, I'm going to say this one time and one time only because I've said this already during the debate, and the debate is nauseating, but I'll say this. We live in a country where we have a system. In order to get what we want, we have to utilize that system. There is a function in that system. It's to make change. Okay, that's how the government is structured. That's how the government here is structured. And in of that system, you have several different things and so many moving pieces and civics, but you have Republicans and you have Democrats, okay? And of those two opposing sides, they end up having usually an ideological core. And of that ideological core, you will always find nuance. You'll always find differences. And so somebody on the left may be a little bit appealing to somebody on the right sometimes. If you're typically a Republican voter, but maybe one year you swing the other way for whatever reason, I understand that. But when I say I'm right-wing, allegedly now I'm like this goy cattle dumbass who's falling for the system. I'm sorry, the system is real life. I'm not going to operate within the bounds of fairy tale, make a wish come true, there's no right and left. Okay, there is a right and left. And that's what we have to work with, and that's what we have to recognize. And I'm not saying pick a side. Look, you don't have to pick a side. Right now is probably one of the more difficult times to pick a side. But because I'm right-wing does not necessitate that I support this GOP. And that idea is just flying over everybody's head. I say, yeah, I'm right-wing. And then Sneeko tells me, oh, okay, so Trump wants you dead. Trump hates Somalians. Okay, one, I'm not Somalian. Okay, hey, I'm not Somalian. But really, I suppose I can pass as one. But really, two, to get serious, okay, Trump is highlighting the issues in Minnesota. Yeah, maybe they're attacking Somalians. Maybe there's some culture vulture slop with that. But they are actually responsible for, like, a lot of corruption. There's literature on this. Like, read up on it. So, like, if they're going to call it out, they're not wrong for calling it out. But, of course, we expect consistency in the other direction. But he says, you support this GOP, and this GOP is killing Muslims and everything. And it's like, okay, bro, you do realize that more Muslims died under Obama's administration. So what's your point? What's your point? If at any point somebody tries to pull the they're killing Muslims card, okay, actually the last, like, 4 or 5 sitting U.S. presidents massacred millions of Muslims. You have Bush in Iraq. You have Obama in Syria, which, if I'm not mistaken, somebody correct me in the chat, I think more Muslims died in the Middle East, like more civilian non-combatants in Syria and Libya died under Obama's administration than the Iraqis that died in the first few years of Operation Iraqi Freedom. If I'm not mistaken, maybe I'm mistaken, but I read that a few times in the past. So it's like you're not really going to get anything different when it comes to Middle Eastern foreign policy with a lot of these leaders. And so the Democrats are now talking a hot stick and they're saying, well, we're going to pull out of the Middle East, and it's all bullshit because this is what we hear, and then what happens is different. Trump did this. He said Iraq was a mistake. Trump said in 2015 that Israel controls everything we do. He literally said that. Everybody seems to forget that. Trump was like mega based. Then he got into office and diplomatically started destroying Iran. Pulled us out of the Iranian nuclear deal, that being the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. He made the IRGC a terrorist organization. He put sanctions right back on them as a result. And, you know, so it's like, are we actually going to get something different with like a Ro Khanna? I don't think so. Ro Khanna goes to the West Bank. He gets arrested. Okay, cool guy. Ro Khanna gets elected. What's Ro Khanna going to say? Oh, I just want the genocide to stop. And is it even going to stop? He's not going to actually do anything to like stop Israel from their encroachment upon borders. Is he really going to pull Israel out of southern Lebanon? Do you really think that's going to happen? They don't listen to us. And here's the problem. I tried to talk in reality. A lot of people say, and I just want to address this. I really don't want to fight. A lot of people say about Israel. Let me be very clear about this. People say about Israel, Israel needs to be destroyed. People say these things like Israel needs to cease to exist. And so people seem to misunderstand or forget there is a should happen and there is a can happen. What should happen and what can happen. So you have idealistically, which is what should happen, and we all can dream all day long. And then we have what can happen, what is tangible within reality, and that's what realism looks like. And so when you think about the situation of Israel in 1948 and the Balfour Declaration and the fact that Palestine did exist and the Nakba happened and 750,000 Palestinians were expelled from their homes, and more later on, and there's been this brutal military occupation, and we all know that, okay? Everybody gets that. At least people with half of a heart and half of a brain understand that and sympathize with them. But Israel is the only nuclear power in the Middle East. They're the only nuclear. So exactly how does one go about eradicating Israel? That's not realistic. And people are going to hear this. Now watch this. People are going to hear this and they're going to go, Ryad sympathizing with Israel. Immediately clock him as a dumbass, because that's not what I'm doing. I'm just speaking in what is likely and what is possible. The United States would never be able to eradicate Israel. That's just not realistic. It's not possible. Okay? Of all the countries surrounding Israel, none of them have a nuclear bomb. Israel has 200 nuclear warheads or more that they can strap onto any missile of their liking and nuke anybody that fucks with them. So can we get moderators in here? Can we get moderators in here? Can we get moderators in here? Please stop spamming. So, anyway, sorry for the interruption. And so, you know, this chat is crazy. I didn't even look at the chat. I'm looking at it now. And so, you know, you think about this, and it's like, bro, we have to talk in reality. That's not possible to eradicate Israel. We can't do it. It's too far gone. So what we need now is a two-state solution. That's the only thing that is tangible. You cannot eradicate a nuclear power. The whole point of having a nuke is to guarantee your existence. That's the whole point. You know, it's this thing called mutually assured destruction, where if you try to take my existence away, we'll make sure yours is gone as well, or we do a whole lot of damage. That's why nobody fucks with North Korea. Despite everybody hating them and them being barred from the world and this rogue nation that's sanctioned to hell, no one bombs them like we bomb Iran because they have a nuke. So Israel has a nuke and they have the Samson option. And so this is a country that has people within it. The people that are representative of Israel, the Jewish people, have faced a lot of diaspora for several years. Now they finally have their nation state. So if anybody poses an existential threat upon Israel, they're a maniacal, genocidal, supremacist state. You don't think they will potentially consider using a nuclear warhead and a nuclear bomb and destroying and decimating that country, floating around that rhetoric? The answer is they absolutely will. So you've got to be like fair. We have to talk in reality. This is why I acknowledge there is a left and a right. You know, I can be idealistic and have fun with it, right? And say, we got to destroy. It's like, but that's just not realistic. That would never happen. We live in an unfortunate world where our Muslim people and our third holiest site was taken by them. It was taken by them. And to this day, any Muslim who wants to visit Masjid al-Aqsa in Jerusalem, in the West Bank, and wants to worship, I have a buddy who 2 years ago was nearly beaten to death by IDF soldiers. This is my personal friend, my Palestinian friend. Here in Connecticut, he lives. And he almost got beat to death by IDF soldiers. Don't think for a moment I don't recognize how brutal the military occupation is. Don't think for a moment I yearn for change and long for change in the West Bank so Palestinians can legitimately have sovereignty and representation within the country, but more importantly, because they're going to make the argument that Palestinians live fine in Haifa and all these things, but really political representation as well. It's a democracy, right? So, of course, we all can think idealistically. Of course, we can do that. But unfortunately, we cannot always talk about what should happen. What should happen does not always fall in unison with what can happen. So we have to talk about what we can work with. And we can't work with eradicating a state that has a nuke. Off the table. Doesn't work. It literally doesn't work. The only reason that all of the Arab countries surrounding Israel were never able to actually defeat Israel is even prior to them getting a nuke, but really when they got a nuke shortly after Kennedy was assassinated at some point in the 60s, they all understood that if they took them far enough, those countries fighting Israel would no longer exist. Otherwise, Israel would have ceased to exist a long time ago. And we saw a situation like this similarly in 73, where they threatened to use a nuclear weapon because they were losing to Syria and Egypt from the north and the south, which is one of the few times that Israel was actually facing an existential threat in the Middle East. And what did they bring up? The fact that if the United States doesn't step in right away and help them, they will nuke the Middle East. And if you don't know what a nuclear bomb is capable of, maybe you should get off of the stream and go take a look on YouTube what a nuclear bomb is capable of doing. So, destruction on levels that honestly sometimes is difficult to comprehend. So, you know, not to chimp out, but we have to be realistic. We do have to be realistic here. I understand Pakistan has nukes. Somebody just said that. But Pakistan is not actually in the Middle East, technically. So, and look, that's why Israel is concerned about Pakistan. They've always voiced concerns about Pakistan and Turkey. But the problem with Pakistan having nukes is they only pose an equal level threat to Israel, not more of a threat than Israel would pose to Pakistan. Understood? Because Israel, if they wanted to, this is obviously all theoretical, if they wanted to nuke Pakistan, they could. The only thing Pakistan could do back is nuke them back. So again, it's this idea of mutually assured destruction, which guarantees they probably wouldn't engage in nuclear war. But when you have one nuclear bully in the Middle East, and people are saying we need to eradicate Israel, it's like, no, actually, that's going to eradicate all of us. So we have to be, like, sensible. You know, we do have to be realistic. We have to be sensible. We have to be fair. And these are the things that I'm saying, and then I'm like a sellout somehow. Okay, I suppose. All I do every day, all day, is highlight the war crimes, is highlight what Israel is doing, how they have to do with destroying my country, Sudan, all of these things. But I'm selling out. Okay. But anyways, sorry, I had a few more chats, and then we'll read this article. So let's see. Let's see. Well, hopefully you all had a good day. Hopefully you all had a good day. Yeah, exactly. Pakistan is really focused on India. So why don't you talk about Israel and JFK? I did a stream on that before, but you guys don't understand I'm on YouTube. So I can't, you know what I mean? I can't go too much into that. So, all right, I'm just looking at some of the chats. All right, so the situation in Iran is not looking hopeful. It is not looking hopeful at all. Nothing really good here, but it's totally fine. We can read it anyways, and then I'll tell you guys what I think. Am I reading a Ukrainian attack on an Iranian commercial vessel? Interesting. Okay. So anyways, so this is the article here. Oops. Hello. This is the article here, and it reads, Trump considers escalation. So fighting between the United States and Iran appeared to abate for the first time in 2 weeks on Saturday, but tensions remained high as President Trump weighed whether to intensify the conflict and as hostilities flared between Saudi-backed forces and Iran-aligned Houthis in Yemen. And we're going to go into that as well. I have an article on that. After 13 straight nights of attacks on Iran, U.S. forces did not announce any overnight strikes. A spokesman for Iran's health ministry said on social media that there had been no new attacks. The two countries have been locked in a cycle of strikes and counterstrikes as each tries to control the Strait of Hormuz, effectively unraveling a ceasefire signed last month. Fighting persisted in the Red Sea region where the Houthis declared a maritime blockade on Saudi vessels this week. Although some takers have made it through, the Houthis, a Yemeni militia backed by Iran, have fired on passing ships, increasing the pressure on global oil prices. Early Saturday, a spokesman for Saudi-led forces operating in Yemen said that they had attacked Houthi military targets. The Houthis said that they had fired rockets and drones at sites at energy sites and facilities in two areas along Saudi Arabia's Red Sea coast. A video clip circulating on social media Saturday and verified by the New York Times showed plumes of smoke coming from the direction of the Saudi Aramco refinery in Jazan, Saudi Arabia. The Saudi authorities did not immediately respond to a request for a comment nor provide further details. The apparent decrease in fighting hardly soothed fears that the situation could still deteriorate. Mr. Trump met with advisors on Friday to discuss a potential escalation with Iran, according to 4 people briefed on the discussion. Those consultations came just days before the president was set to meet Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. His visit on Tuesday would be the first since he argued in February for a joint U.S.-Israeli offensive against Iran, which began weeks later. Nearing the end of its 5th month, the war with Iran is at a critical juncture. The Trump administration has had little success in its war aims, having failed to topple the Iranian government and end its nuclear program. Instead, Iranian forces have effectively blockaded the Strait of Hormuz, a vital corridor for global oil and gas shipments that was open before the war, throttling the global economy. So, this is like just not good to hear. And the reason why I say that is because of the fact that, look, we've got this whole conflict in the Middle East that's been ongoing, but every single time we reach a pause, there's some sort of Israeli intervention to continue the war and or the conflict. Now, this war has had 2 stages, and I've explained this like 10 times, but I'm imagining there's always new people in here, so I'll explain it. And I'm not going to go into great detail, but I'll give you a generality of what the war has been comprised of in terms of the angles and or really the strategies that the United States has tried to effectuate upon Iran. The first time we started bombing Iran from 28th onwards of February into March, before we had that ceasefire on April 7th, was an all-out bombing campaign. It was an aerial assault. We were targeting military infrastructure, we were targeting military personnel, and we were killing leaders. Of course, we killed the supreme leader on the first day. So that was kind of the first phase, and then we ultimately reached a ceasefire and or agreement, but it seemed as if though the United States was a little bit more desperate for that agreement than Iran was, despite the fact that we were destroying them militarily. However, we were not destroying them strategically. And that's where U.S. capitulation actually entered the picture. The reason why is because, of course, as we know, Iran has been blocking the Strait of Hormuz and not allowing oil to flow through, which is not only hurting the U.S. economy, but primarily it's hurting Asia, it's hurting Europe, it's hurting these Gulf countries that export this oil. And so they found ways to circumvent the matter, which has now been shut down by the Houthis. We'll get into that later. But, we ended up getting Iran to sign some sort of temporary ceasefire, some deal, and in order for that deal to work, it would require a legitimate signing of a long-term deal later. So it was kind of like a buffer. It was similar to the MOU that we saw last month that collapsed. And the reason why the United States needed to do this is because the war is highly unpopular, and people here in the United States are paying obvious war tax. War tax being gas, goods, anything that you can think of. Once there's an energy shortage, everything climbs in price. It all follows from the oil. That's what necessarily always follows. And we started to see a semblance of that in the United States, especially at the gas pump, as well as the fact that Iran was not even making it easy for the United States to continuously bomb it, being that they were retaliating against our Gulf allies. They were hitting the UAE, they were hitting Bahrain, they were hitting Qatar, they were hitting Kuwait. At one point, they hit Oman, which is like a vague ally of Iran because they both share control in the Strait of Hormuz. At least they did. And Iran even hit Oman. And so we saw there was really no red lines for Iran, and they proved to make it difficult and asymmetric. So the United States had reached this somewhat ceasefire deal. And of course, right after, on April 8th, Israel launches Operation Eternal Darkness and kills 350 people in Lebanon in a matter of a few hours. And they start bombing Beirut and Dahia and all of these provinces south of Beirut and within southern Lebanon. And ostensibly, they were killing these Hezbollah militant leaders and these high-ranking officials, destroying Hezbollah infrastructure and military logistical infrastructure belonging to Hezbollah that's responsible for bombing Israel in the north, yada, yada, yada. And the reason why Hezbollah had joined the war anyways was because of the fact that the United States and Israel in their joint strikes killed the supreme leader on the first day of the war. And the supreme leader is representative of the axis of resistance, of course. He's the head of the IRGC. And what's connected to the IRGC is, of course, the proxy groups and the resistance groups which reside in southern Lebanon, that being Hezbollah, and then, of course, Ansar Allah, or the Houthis, and that's in Yemen. Those are the main ones that are involved in this war, actually, in making a difference, at least. And so you had that situation, and we had this long, awkward period of what was allegedly a ceasefire, but it didn't feel like one because every other week or every other day, even, it seemed that the United States kept getting involved in the Strait and launching something called Operation Freedom, which Central Command had announced would be this great plan to guide vessels out of the Strait. That lasted 2 days. That didn't work. It proved too dangerous. It just wasn't efficient. And, you know, we've been trying to undermine Iran in their control of the Strait. And part of the memorandum of understanding, which was one of the deals that we brokered with Iran before it all fell apart last month, was that Iran would have some sort of control of the Strait so long as they actually let these ships pass through. But we didn't really want them, nor did I think it sat comfortable with the United States or this administration to allow Iran to make money on these ships. They were tolling them and they were charging them some sort of tax for passing through, which is, of course, not good because then Netanyahu can cry in the Oval Office and say, well, they're funding their proxies with the money that they're making from the ship or the shipping. And as a result, we're having to fight a harder fight in southern Lebanon. And it's funny because you shouldn't even be in southern Lebanon, you know, but now this war has entered a second phase. And I'm just spanning across everything kind of quickly because I don't want to go into this long-winded explanation of things we've gone over millions of times in the last few months. And so now we've entered the second phase, which is the last 2 weeks. 13th day was yesterday of this back and forth between the United States, and the United States has allegedly responded to Iran, bombing commercial vessels because these commercial vessels were not following Iranian authority and or control of the Strait of Hormuz. Iran said, we're going to control the Strait. The United States said, okay. And slowly but surely, we realized we don't want Iran to control the Strait because that is the biggest strategic failure we could ever allow ourselves to enter. And so we tried to undermine Iran and work with Oman to let some of these ships pass through Omani waterways instead of Iranian designated ones. And as a result, that hurts their money. As a result, that hurts their control. And the biggest thing here is it's not just that Iran is being tyrannical, trying to control the Strait of Hormuz because they can control it. It's not that. They're desperately controlling it because that's the only point of strategic leverage they have over the United States. If Iran doesn't control the Strait, there's nothing really in the way of us destroying them in all aspects, strategically, militarily, denuclearizing them, forcing them to the table, or ultimately, really, maybe even regime changing them, which is the biggest goal of the Israelis primarily. So Iran understands that the Strait of Hormuz is their baby. And I've said this a million times. There is no way in hell Iran would ever let go of the Strait of Hormuz because the Strait is contingent upon their existence. This existential threat they're facing cannot be defied by military power, cannot be defied by entrenching themselves in the country. On a long enough time scale, I understand no one can conquer Persia because of the mountains, because of the terrain, because of the personnel, because of how many people Iran has, about 90 million plus and 250,000 armed guards. I understand it's not easy to conquer Iran, and we've always said this, but if we can get past the Strait of Hormuz, it is tangible on a long enough time scale. At least some sort of regime change or capitulation from their end to denuclearize. No more highly enriched uranium, none of that. That's what the United States is allegedly concerned of. At least that's the false pretext that we started the war on. but everything was actually for Israel, if you want the simplification of it. And so Iran, in response to the United States trying to rob them of their greatest strategic weapon that they've been leveraging over us and making painful for us, which is why we've brokered so many cease deals, and JD Vance is flying to Islamabad and JD Vance is flying to Geneva. They put us in a corner of desperation, really, and made us look like a fool. We're trying to take that back. Iran says, no way. No way, because this strait has done everything positive for us and kept us alive and afloat, despite the fact that you're attacking us and you're the greatest military power in the world. And so the United States could, of course, not accept the fact that Iran was bombing these oil vessels. Of course, in the face of us having presence in the Persian Gulf and still being in this live conflict with Iran, even though there's a temporary ceasefire, it's still a live conflict. We respond and we start bombing the hell out of their military logistical infrastructure within Iran. We're really on the coastline in Bandar Abbas and Bandar Kamir, which is just west of Bandar Abbas, Karg Island, Keshem Island, and we're bombing all of these islands and or a lot of the coastline, which deploys a lot of the military infrastructure that poses fear and risk upon these oil vessels safely passing through the Strait of Hormuz. And we're trying to degrade it and destroy it, and so that, of course, the United States doesn't have to deal with Iran controlling the strait anymore. And so we're really doing this 13-day escalation, which has paused now, and hopefully it stays paused, although that's proving unlikely given history. We're in this 13-day escalation, bombing the hell out of Iran, using siege drones, hitting their coastline hard, and they're responding, by the way. They're hitting Saudi Arabia, they're hitting Kuwait, they're hitting Bahrain. Well, the Houthis are hitting Saudi Arabia, my apologies, but they're hitting a lot of these GCC nations, like Kuwait and Bahrain, receiving a bulk of it. But we're entrenched in this 13-day conflict, which has now spanned on, it seems like it's going to be forever, so that we can hopefully get Iran back to the table. And that's what you hear from the White House secretary. That's what you hear from Donald Trump. That's what you hear from JD Vance, even Marco Rubio. They're all saying, look, we're going to escalate on Iran. We're going to continue to impose ourselves on Iran so we can guarantee safe maritime traffic and safe maritime passage of these oil vessels. But the ultimate goal behind all of that is to get them to capitulate and get them to the table. Because if they're not at the table, they're controlling the strait without us involved in it at all. And we can't afford to allow Iran to control the strait on a long enough time period. It just would prove catastrophic for the United States. And really, in Israel, it'd be even worse. Because now you have an Iran that potentially has a nuclear weapon, has a stockpile of missiles, not ICBMs, but they have a lot of missiles, some of them being hypersonic that can reach Israel in 10 minutes. They have a proxy network that is highly sophisticated, highly trained, capable, entrenched in the ground where they're located, and armed to the fucking core. They have so many weapons, and they're getting more because of the money that Iran is making in the strait. And on top of that, you still have the IRGC with 250,000 armed guards on the ground. You have all of these things existing at the same time. And so now you add on to the fact that Iran controls the strait. We started this war, and now Iran just became like the 4th or 5th most strongest country in the world. And so the United States has to give somewhere. And where we're not allowing ourselves to concede on is the strait, obviously, which is why we keep finding ourselves back in this war. And so, you know, that's really kind of why everything has been happening. Now, as for what's to come, look, reading this article, it seems like Netanyahu's going to be in the White House early next week. That's what all these mainstream outlets are reporting on. And if that's the case, Netanyahu's going to do the thing he always does. There's no real high-level analysis here. He's going to tell Trump that you need to continue on in this war, and you need to continuously hit Iran while they're weak, and you're doing a good job, and Mr. President, you're hitting the military infrastructure, just a few more strikes. And maybe the United States is just going to lean into it and keep going. Because you got to think about the fact that there's really no political off-ramp anymore. We've forfeited all of that by bombing them a second time 14 days ago and tarnishing the memorandum of understanding, which was supposed to be the 60-day buffer in order for us to actually reach a legitimate deal with complicated stipulations and or agreements between both parties. And so, you know, that's off the table now. Might as well keep bombing them. And I said this 2 days ago before Sneeko had joined. There's two options that the United States realistically possesses if we cannot get the Strait of Hormuz back, which I think is going to be really difficult. There's two options. It's either A, we bomb Iran to the point where we destroy their power plants, we hit their power grids, we send the country into darkness, or really we just nuke them, okay? Or we walk away. Those are the only two things that the United States can realistically do to have some sort of decisive conclusion, whether we win or we lose. The only way to win is to really pummel the country to hell or walk away. And right now, what it seems like we're trying to do is not necessarily pummel the country to hell, but just kind of get control of the strait. And there is no kind of getting control of the strait. There's a vagueness in that doesn't answer the larger question, which is what happens after we allegedly control the strait? Is that actually going to do anything? And the answer is no, because Iran is going to continuously fight back until they don't exist anymore for that strait, because that's their only weapon to keep us off of them. However, now it seems like it's pushing us back onto them. And, you know, think about the utility of this 13-day escalation. The United States is now bombing Iran back and forth, and Trump is saying he's going to escalate. Where is the function in this? If this was working, then certainly Iran would say, hey, let's go back to the table. I mean, it only makes sense, right? If this military escalation in these last 2 weeks of strikes back and forth were working, certainly then Iran would actually feel some pain and want to capitulate. But the problem is, it's not. And even if we are destroying a significant amount of military infrastructure, and to some degree, I'll give credit there, we are with these sea drones, we're doing damage. Iran's not going to stop controlling the strait or immediately capitulate, because not only is that a loss for them in that short-term essence, in that short-term real paradigm where we won the 13-day battle, that's a long-term loss for them where they no longer control the strait. So it doesn't matter how much we destroy Iran, they're not going to let go of the strait. They're still going to continuously hang on to that, right? If this was working, if this was useful, if this actually made sense and was worth the $50 billion that Hegseth had said we're spending so far, we've spent so far, well then maybe Iran would say, okay, US, chill out. Hey, okay, Central Command, we'll talk. Trump, get Trump on the phone, we'll talk. And so you got the United States on this side saying, we're bombing Iran, but our ears are open. Our ears are open and we're willing to hear something. We're willing to talk. And you got Iran on the other side saying, look, we'll have negotiations, but the strait is non-negotiable, so you can keep trying to bomb us. So it's really useless. We're going to have to try to find something else here, because this is not working. Bombing the coastline is not working. And by the way, the more we bomb the coastline, the more they bomb our Gulf allies. And to bomb the coastline and take control of Iran and seize their military ability of imposing their control upon the strait necessitates, what must necessarily follow that is that they will bomb our Gulf allies. And if we want to take control of the coastline and take their control away from the strait, that's not a short-winded process. That's long-winded. And if it's long-winded, that means long enough on a time scale, they'll destroy these GCC countries. Do you understand? We have to be in and out. And the nature of this war is long. The nature of taking control from Iran is long. And what else happens on a long time scale? The Gulf countries get hit. Desalination plants get hit. Kuwait gets hit. Our bases get hit. Maybe even civilian infrastructure at some point if Iran gets desperate enough. And so can the Middle East deal with that for months? The answer is no, because they haven't. That's why we've had the ceasefires. That's why we had the back and forths. That's why we've had a little tit for tat in the strait, and then we pull out. We do just enough to piss Iran off, but not too much to where they start raining hell upon our Gulf allies. Now we've done enough to make them rain hell upon our Gulf allies. Imagine this for 2 or 3 months, 6 months, back and forth, strikes in the coastline, strikes in Tehran, strikes in the coastline, Bandar Abbas, invade Karg Island. What are the Gulf countries going to look like? Because again, remember, they have a stockpile of drones that are incredibly cheap for them, and they make them in-house, underground in these cities, in these underground missile and drone cities that they have, which you can find video evidence for online from Iranian state media. And so they have this, and they're going to continue to utilize it and make this painful for the United States and make our allies respond, or make our allies pay for it in their retaliation strikes. So to me, I'm super concerned, because I don't really understand how the United States can continue its military offensive without the GCC really getting destroyed in return. And by the way, now the Houthis are in the Red Sea. So every single step we take forward in some sort of military W against Iran They just take the same steps forward in the other direction in destroying the Middle East, and the Houthis get in the Red Sea, or they clog up the Bab al Mandab Strait, which is responsible for another 12% of the world's global oil supply, which goes into the Indian Ocean or the Arabian Sea. And so now it really has become even more of a quagmire. And people are going to say, yo, you're coping. The United States is actually kind of doing well. It's like, no, actually, no. That's not the case, because now the Houthis in Saudi Arabia are fighting for the first time since 2022. And this has everything to do with the war. So that's a big issue as well. And that's another front that we've got to worry about. And who knows, whenever Israel can spark back up conflict between Hezbollah and the IDF. And that's been that situation that's been disastrous that we've been talking about for months. And they have a buffer zone south of the Litani River, displaced millions of people. So, and by the way, Israel's not even helping us with these coastline strikes. They're not even doing anything. They're just sitting back. And their finance minister, Smotrich, he said in a disgusting way, of course they would say this, and this is the rhetoric on the far right Israeli side. He says, why are we going to get involved? Let the United States continue to do our bidding. We don't need to get involved in Iran. They're doing a good job. So at first there was a joint effort, and now they've just stepped back and let us finish the job. So we're so cucked out that not even Israeli fighter jets are next to us anymore. We're doing this alone, and it's because we need the strait. And Israel gets to take a breather and focus on Lebanon, and focus on Gaza, and focus on the West Bank, and focus on Golan Heights. We're destroying the Middle East by this war, okay? Everything is getting far worse as a result of this conflict. So, and look, can we just pull out? Not really, because we can't let them control the strait. So we are literally stuck. We are literally stuck, and it seems like there's nowhere to go except forward at this point. And somebody comes and asks me, what would you do if you were in this situation? You want to hear something? I have no goddamn idea. I have no idea what I would do in this situation. There's no answers. To me, there is no answers. I couldn't think of one if I tried. Because for every answer I have, there is a greater issue. Or there is something we're going to have to deal with. And maybe that's the reality. I understand that. That's the grim reality of it. But these things that we're going to have to pay with any of the options that we may exercise in furthering this war will destroy a pivotal region, being the Middle East, in which we had good relations with several Gulf countries in for several years. That's all going to be severed after this, as well as everything else that you can think of, like Israel getting so much more power. Last time I checked, U.S. military servicemen are dying in the Middle East, not IDF soldiers fighting Iran. They're dealing with their issue in Lebanon while we're taking care of Big Brother over in Iran. And Big Brother is kind of whooping our ass strategically and making gas $80 a tank for you. So it's just crazy. And the CIA agent the other day on Patrick Bet-David's show, he said, you know, Patrick, I don't know why you're saying Islam is the greatest threat to the world. It's Israel. Americans are paying more money at the pump because of Israel. So it's like people, you know, you ever see the Laura Loomer meme? It's like Islam everywhere. But it is what it is. And then we'll get into the Houthi situation as well. So if you're unfamiliar with that, let me read some chats before I segue into that. Let's see really quick. It's so hot in here. I gotta turn the AC on. Please mod Dominican. Okay, thank you, One Chest. I will. Dominicano, I'll give you mods right now. I thought you were a moderator. Let me see. Is he in here? Yeah, he's in here. Hang on. He is moderator. He's moderator. He's got mods. He's got mods. He's in here. Thank you, One Chest. Okay, Jacob, thanks. I see now. Anyways, okay, so now let's move on to Yemen, because this is actually connected, but it is a separate issue as well. And I'll explain how. So this is really this is what I'm very worried about, because the situation between Yemen and Saudi Arabia has been brutal. And I don't want that to spark back up. But if you missed it, and you probably did because this wasn't reported so much, but it was kind of swept under the rug because there were more important things to talk about. But I reported on it. I'll explain it again. So I think on July 13th, Saudi-backed Yemen government had bombed a runway that was set for an Iranian delegation to arrive. And this was at the time of the funeral for the supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, whatever. And as a result, the Houthis responded and bombed an airport in southern Saudi Arabia, I believe the Abha airport. And this was hours later. It was the same day. So this all happened on July 13th. And the Saudis had claimed that they bombed the runway and interrupted the airspace because they were worried that the IRGC was supplying weapons to the Houthis, and the Houthis are in very close proximity to Yemen. The Houthis are in very close proximity to Saudi Arabia, southern Saudi Arabia, and when they had their war, that's where a lot of the tension sat. And so in fear of a reignited conflict, I suppose, and this is from the Saudi side, or in fear of more weapons being supplied to this proxy group being Ansar Allah or the Houthis, they interrupted the airspace, they bombed the runway, and the Houthis took this as an attack. They took it as a threat. And so Abdul Malik al-Houthi responded by bombing an airport in southern Saudi Arabia, Abha Airport. And he also said, the spokesperson, that anytime Saudi Arabia bombs a port, we'll bomb a port. And they block something in the Red Sea, we'll block something in the Red Sea. And they hit a runway, we'll hit a runway. You know, port for port, this for that, tit for tat. Bars. Anyways, so you get it. And from July 13th all the way up until really yesterday, and July 20th, rather, I should say, when the Houthis started to block the Red Sea. But from July 13th to July 20th, we've just been on an escalation ladder of threats between the Saudi Arabian officials, really, and the Houthis. And the Houthis had been saying, you know, we're not afraid to mobilize in the Red Sea. We'll block shipping. You know, we'll get straight back into it. And, of course, they did, maybe from IRGC command, because the IRGC was dealing with the United States and had his hands full in the Strait. And so the Houthis mobilized on July 20th, I believe, about 5 days ago, and they started striking only and exclusively Saudi-owned oil vessels in the Red Sea. And they had hit, like on the first day, two. Right before they started, they made two turn back and go through the Suez Canal again. So they were really causing some disruption. And as a result of this, I believe yesterday, Saudi Arabia bombed Hodeidah in Yemen. And in response, the Houthis bombed, what's the port called? I can't remember the port, but the port city in Saudi Arabia, right onto the Red Sea, which was serving as a function for that pipeline that Saudi Arabia had used to circumvent the issue of the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz was obviously closed, and so Saudi Arabia utilized this pipeline going westward into the Red Sea for some oil export, and so they can relieve some of the global economy, would really make their money on their oil. And so now the Houthis are disrupting that. And so now Saudi Arabia has no choice but to bomb the Houthis. And now the Houthis have no choice but to respond and bomb Saudi Arabia and their infrastructure that has to do with the oil that they desperately need. And so now we have a situation where the Houthis and Saudi Arabia are fighting their own separate conflict. And of course, it has to do with Iran for the reasons that I stated earlier. But at the same time, you can see how it's its own individual war that can build up and become something that's uncontrollable for the United States. And unfortunately, the Houthis have not even utilized their trump card, which is blocking the strait entirely, like the IRGC is doing in the Strait of Hormuz. Obviously, you have the Red Sea, and then under it is the Bab al Mandab Strait. And then right after that is wide open waters for the Indian Ocean, the Arabian Sea, going to Asia, going anywhere else in the Eastern Hemisphere. And if the Houthis block that, you can bet your ass, you think gas and oil is expensive now, wait till that happens. And so we pray it doesn't. But if Saudi Arabia continuously bombs the Houthis in response for the Houthis controlling the Red Sea, in response for the United States mobilizing against Strait of Hormuz and attacking the IRGC and attacking the coastline, you can see how this is all connected. Well, then oil's going to go up. Well, then the Houthis are actually going to block everything. And then it's another 12%. That would be 32% of the world's oil supply. And I have the article here. I think I even have Trump talking about it, or he's talking about something else, but this is AP. So we'll take a quick look. Yemen's Iran-backed Houthi rebels said Saturday that they fired missiles and drones at Saudi Arabia in response to Saudi airstrikes in the strategic Red Sea city of Hodeidah in an escalation over vital shipping routes in the Middle East, while the United States and Iran vie for control over the Strait of Hormuz. General Yahya Sari, the Houthis' military spokesperson, said in a pre-recorded statement that the attack targeted facilities in the Red Sea cities of Yanbu is what I meant to say, and Jizan, that belongs to Aramco, the world's largest oil company. Saudi Arabia's civil defense said alerts sounded multiple times early Saturday in both cities, but the kingdom did not comment further. There were no reported strikes overnight in Iran, an apparent break from nearly 2 weeks of consecutive nights of U.S. attacks, though tensions remain high following an escalation over the Strait of Hormuz. The Houthis have said that they will close the Bab al Mandab Strait, linked to Saudi-linked shipping, in retaliation for the kingdom's blockade on Yemen and a recent attack on the international airport in Yemen's rebel-held capital, Sana'a. Nothing short of ending the aggression and lifting the blockade, otherwise it's all illusion and mirage, Mahdi al-Mashhad said, the head of the Houthi-led Supreme Political Council governing the rebel-controlled territories in Yemen, said of what it would take for the Houthis to not block the Bab al Mandab. The Bab al Mandab, at the southern tip of the Arabian Peninsula, is a vital shipping choke point connecting the Red Sea to the Gulf of Aden, around 12% of the world's trade, including a quarter of its container traffic passing through the Narrows. The Houthis targeted 2 Saudi oil tankers in the Red Sea this week. In response, Saudi Arabia struck Hodeidah, the Saudi-led coalition opposing the rebels said Saturday. The strikes late Friday hit the port and the state-run telecommunications corporation, injuring 2 people, said Anis al-Asbahi, a spokesperson for the Houthi-run health ministry. The Saudi-led coalition said it didn't hit the port, but struck legitimate military targets in Hodeidah province that were linked to threats to commercial vessels in the Red Sea. Iran's foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi, called for diplomacy and dialogue to solve the Yemen conflict without military confrontations in an interview published Saturday by the state-run newspaper called Iran. And so I have a video queued up here.
Explosions have been...
We'll take a quick look. But this is a brand new development. Brand new development. I had a chat come in, so let me just read this really quick. Dominicano, thank you for the 20. W stream, I agree. W backdrop, view rich guy. Yeah, you guys like it? Calm, right? Rocking with this? What do we think? You could see the... Oh, okay. ISO's cooked. But actually, maybe I shouldn't tell you what you can see. That's kind of docs. That's self-docs. But yeah, this is the new setup. Been here for over a month now. I moved in on June 19th. Juneteenth. Hey, clip this, send this to Sneeko. Juneteenth. We stand with the blacks. Don't clip that. I'm kidding. So it's been over a month now. Got the setup. I'm thinking about doing the wall panel acoustic shit. What do you call it? Right here in this corner. But then again, I just like the wall. I like the simplicity. I don't want to do too much because people try hard on the setups. Like, I look at some of these people and they're like, it's like, bro, you're just ODing it. You know, for me, I like it simplistic. I had the bedroom setup. That was crazy. Had to move up from that. That was a little unprofessional. But yeah, there's like a turf rug here, and I've got to find a way to implement it in here. You can kind of slightly see it right here. I got to figure out something to do with that. I like it. I think it's cool. But yeah, W backdrop. Yeah, it's nice. Right in the city. Right in the city. All right, anyways. And let me turn the AC on, man. It's like 70 million degrees in here.
Media linked to Yemen's Ansar al-Houthis says that Saudi strikes have targeted 2 locations on the country's Red Sea coast. Earlier, Saudi media reported an attack on a Saudi vessel in the Red Sea. Explosions have been reported in Hodeidah port. Strikes have also been reported on Kamaran Island. It comes a day after the Houthis said that they had targeted 2 Saudi tankers. They said the ships were violating their naval blockade on Saudi ports. We'll bring you more on this breaking news a little later in this bulletin. Iranian media say that 2 people have died in a U.S. missile strike on a liquefied petroleum gas tanker in the Gulf of Oman. The Fars news agency says the attack damaged the vessel's engine room. The U.S. military hasn't committed. Al Jazeera's Mahmoud Abdul Wahid reports from Tehran.
Iranian state media are reporting that the U.S. military has targeted a liquefied petroleum gas vessel in the Sea of Oman, allegedly killing 2 crew members and damaging the engine of the vessel, bringing it to a halt in the Sea of Oman. Now, this comes after Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi had a phone call on Friday with his Omani counterpart, Badr al-Busaidi, discussing maritime security and the safe passage of vessels through the Strait of Hormuz. On Friday, also, an Omani diplomatic delegation visited Tehran for talks focusing on mechanisms to arrange safe passage of vessels through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, Iranian officials have been arguing that the safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz is a sovereign right to both Oman and Iran, rejecting any foreign interference, namely from the United States. We understand that the United States earlier this month has imposed a naval blockade on Iranian southern ports, which Iran considers an economic warfare and a violation of the UN Charter and international law. Iranian officials, and namely the foreign ministry, has been reiterating that Iran cannot give in to coercive diplomacy, accusing the United States of practicing what it considers bullying in the region.
Let's get back to the breaking news we told you about a few moments ago in Yemen. Yusuf
Yeah, I was like, bro, where's the Yemen situation? I thought Al Jazeera scammed me.
Ari is in Yemen's capital, Sana'a. He joins us now live. Yemen's Houthi-affiliated media say that Saudi strikes have targeted 2 locations on the country's Red Sea coast. Yusuf, what more do we know?
Well, the Saudi TV just announced that the Saudi military is announcing that they targeted military sites. According to the Ansar Allah Houthis, however, they're saying that the Saudi Arabia targeted the island of Kamaran and targeted also facilities belonging to telecommunication centers, all of which happened in the strategic province of Hodeidah. Now, we know that the island of Kamaran is known for its strategic importance. It is Yemen's largest island, and it's actually very close to Bab al Mandab, where the ships, the Saudi oil tankers, are being targeted.
You know what someone commented the other day? Just so off topic, but I just thought this was hilarious. Somebody the other day, they go, like, it's difficult, because obviously I speak some Arabic, and a lot of these terms and cities and choke points are in Arabic, right? So Bab al Mandab is how you would, say it correctly. But then the way to say it without saying it in Arabic would be Bab al Mandab, I guess, right? But like, I do this with Iran. I've gotten better with Iran, but like sometimes I mix it up. I'll read an Arabic name, and instead of saying like Hassan Saleh, I'll say like Hassan Saleh. And like somebody in the comments said, stop LARPing, we know you speak Arabic. Okay, it's not LARP. I just have a hard time reading these Arabic names without like reading them in Arabic because I speak Arabic. And somebody tried to ridicule me for that. It's like, stop saying it that way. We get it. You speak Arabic. It's like, bro, it's not that. It's like, it sounds weird to me. Okay, if I'm going to say like a common Muslim name, like, I can't look at some nigga named Ahmed and go, yo, Ahmed. It's just like, okay, I'm going to call you Ahmed. You know what I mean? Or like Muhammad. Like, I'm going to say Muhammad. So somebody ridiculed me for that. Like I'm LARPing. Like I'm LARPing the language. It's like, no, it's just like I can't say it the wrong way because I know how to say it the right way. Like I possess the ability to not say it with an accent, so I'll say it the right way. Anyways, I just thought that was funny because I'm hearing him say Bab al Mandab and Saudi. And I'm like over here like, damn, I've tried to find the balance in how to say these things. Bab al Mandab Strait. Bab al Mandab Strait is closed by the Ansar Allah militant group.
So whenever you have such a situation as it has happened.
Ansar Allah. All right, let's get back.
Happened before where Saudi Arabia targeted the province of Hodeidah, targeted the port of Hodeidah, although Saudi Arabia is saying that they did not target the port of Hodeidah and that the port of Hodeidah remains open and fully operational.
Yeah. Somebody said Qatar. So It's like a million ways. You guys understand, when you're saying these things a million times, you like laugh at yourself choosing how you want to say it. You either can say Qatar. You hear a lot of people say Qatar. That's wrong. Okay, it's Qatar. Because the Arabic way to say it is Qatar. And so like I'm over here saying Iran bomb Qatar. And then another time I say Iran bomb Qatar. So it's just like I'm choosing how I want to LARP. Yeah, there's just many things like that. It's funny. It is unnecessary for me to mention, but I just thought that was funny.
It was expected. There was the response from Saudi Arabia was expected by the Ansar Allah Houthi group. They did warn that if Saudi Arabia does attack Yemen, does attack the province of Hodeidah or any province under their control, then they're going to be more strikes targeting not just oil tankers, not just imposing the naval blockade on all Saudi shipping, but also targeting Aramco oil facilities, targeting Saudi airports, Saudi air bases, and Saudi Aramco oil pipelines in Saudi Arabia. So this is the latest that we have right now. There's one.
And what's the country on the other side of the Bab al Mandab Strait? I think it's Djibouti, right? Like, bro, that's Yemen shit. That's the Houthi shit. Like, there's no other. Wait, am I tweaking? Is it Djibouti? Or is it, hold on. Yeah, Eritrea and Djibouti. LOL. So, yeah, that's their shit.
Report of one woman who was injured in the attack that occurred on the island of Kamaran. Usually whenever these attacks happen, the number of casualties, if there are any, they will be released perhaps later on.
How do you say it? It's Joe Booty? How do you even say it? What is there? Chat, what is it? What's the population there? 1.1 million people? I've never met somebody from there. Joe Booty? Djibouti? Alright, I'm imagining the jokes after I say this. Yeah, pretty irrelevant country. Eritrea, though. You know, maybe I'll marry an Eritrean girl. Facts. If you know, you know. Somalia, I don't know about that. I'm looking at the map, by the way. Let me show my screen. You guys are probably like, what am I doing here? So you have Eritrea, Yemen, Somalia, Ethiopia. These are the countries around. It's Djibouti, right? Somebody said it's yo booty. Wait, how do you pronounce it?
Djibouti.
Yeah, I was saying it right. Fuck you. Chatter's fucking with me. Asshole. Djibouti. The fuck is in Djibouti?
In a couple of hours or early tomorrow morning.
You say, Yusuf, that this was to be expected. This is only going to ramp up tension, isn't it? If the Ansar Allah Houthis are going to strike even more vessels as they've threatened.
Well, there's a number of options. And I think that it's almost the same strategy that was up.
Okay, Djibouti has a strategic joint shared Chinese-U.S. base, spy base there. Interesting. Only Chinese base outside of China. Interesting. I didn't know that. Thanks for that.
Applied and executed when the Ansar Allah Houthis announced the blockade on all Israeli shipping. It started off gradually by just not allowing Israeli-linked ships to cross Bab al Mandab, but then it escalated to targeting Israeli shipping, whether it was in the Red Sea, the Gulf of Aden. They even targeted Israeli-linked vessels in the Indian Ocean. And this is exactly what we might see with the escalation of military activities against Saudi assets, whether it's at sea, whether it's at land, whether they are targeting Saudi Arabia's most precious jewel, the Aramco oil facilities. The main target here, make no mistake about it, is Saudi Arabia's moneymaker, the oil exporting industry. That's 5 million barrels from Saudi Arabia that's being exported on a daily basis. And
damn, 5 million barrels getting clogged up, huh?
The Ansar Allah Houthis have taken that asset away from Saudi Arabia.
And by the way, that's just Saudi Arabia. There's other countries that have oil vessels passing through the Red Sea, so
that there was going to be some type of response from Saudi Arabia. A lot of experts were talking about perhaps engaging with the Ansar Allah Houthis in negotiations in Oman. As we know, there is a delegation of Saudi and Ansar Allah officials in Oman. They were supposed to talk, negotiate in order to de-escalate the tensions. Unfortunately, from what we are seeing today, those negotiations are not bearing any fruit, and most likely this is going to result into a sort of back and forth where you have Ansar Allah Houthis targeting Saudi Arabia at sea, but now also targeting them, where it's going to hurt.
The coastline and inland, maybe?
And this is according to the statements issued by the Ansar Allah Houthis. This is according to the leader of the Ansar Allah Houthi, Abdul Malik al-Houthi. And this is also according to many Ansar Allah Houthi officials who basically sent the message that they want the war to escalate. Okay. They want to target more Saudi assets. And it looks like it's not just going to include imposing the blockade. This is going to perhaps lead into a full-scale war between Saudi Arabia and the Yemeni group, just as it
really not good news
happened in from 2015 to 2022.
Okay.
It looks like history is going to repeat itself unless
Bro's trying to get him to stop talking.
I don't know whether you can hear me. Yusuf Murray reporting live there from Yemen's capital, Sanaa. Many thanks, Yusuf.
So, that's that. So Yusuf, that's it. All right, so let's see. That's it for the situation in the Middle East, really. Unfortunately, nothing good. I'm waiting to talk about something that's actually good. But I had a couple casual clips we can go through. Here's
Mr. President, there are no signs that Iran is ready to...
I guess we can go through this really quick. This was 4 days ago, but it's kind of telling of where his head is at. So it's worth looking at. Let's see here.
Stop fighting. So what is the plan? Is that Iran... Mr. President, there are no signs that Iran is ready to stop fighting. So what is the plan? Is the plan to just keep bombing until they give up?
There are no signs. What, do you know something that I don't know?
Well, they continue to attack our allies and kill Americans.
You don't know what the dialogue is behind the scenes, that they want to meet desperately to try and end it because they're getting decimated.
Okay, so as I said earlier, if they were desperately trying to end this war, they would have told the United States, hey, we want to talk, right? As a result of our aggressive military campaign and decimating their coastline, they would have said, you know what, the Strait of Hormuz is not worth it. We want to talk. But they're not going to capitulate if we're trying to take their greatest weapon away from them. Yeah, actually, they're going to fight, even if it hurts.
You don't get that when you listen to your fake station, but...
Nah, bro, you're the fake station. This is the real one.
You don't know. You don't know anything.
So talks are
you know
still
something
possible,
that I
likely?
don't know? Do you know something I don't know?
Well, tell us.
I must admit, okay, listen, I've got to admit, although Trump is such an Israeli cuck, El President, look, don't take this the wrong way. But I do love how he puts journalists in their place, even though she's right. She's right and he's wrong in every way possible. But sometimes it's just funny when he's like, you know something I don't know? I love that about him. That I like about Trump. I like how he is very bossy and he lets everybody know who the leader is. It's a nice refreshment from like an Obama. You know, Obama is very humble, very kind, and I appreciate that greatly as well. Don't think I don't. I actually thought Obama was pleasant to listen to. Very well spoken, very cordial, respectful, much more than Trump is. All those things he's better than Trump at. But what I like about a U.S. president is when he just says, you don't know what you're talking about, shut the fuck up. And it's like, okay, I kind of like that though. That because you're a leader. You know, sometimes you do have to impose that. You have to let that be known. And I get it. He's the president. He's sitting in the White House. People are asking him questions. What more does he need to do to show that? I get that. But, you know, see, big bad boss. Sometimes you need a little bit of that dictatorial. You need that energy, that like, hey, I'm the king, nigga, shut up. I kind of enjoy that sometimes. I know a lot of people may disagree with that. That's fine.
I will tell you, they want to desperately meet, and until they're ready to meet in a meaningful way, I have no interest in even.
He's such a liar. They're not desperately meeting. You're the one, by the way, he chickened out of the 13-day assault. Okay? He's the one who chickened out. I just saw this on my X feed. Like, look, this is what was reported out of Axios. Talking all that shit. Trump ordered the U.S. military to not carry out new strikes on Iran Friday night, despite approving his announced massive attack, now believing an agreement is possible over the weekend. The cancellation came despite Iran comprehensively rejecting any negotiations with the United States throughout this week and confirming it is not talking to the U.S. under any circumstances. It came directly after Trump claimed Iran is talking to the U.S. and that major progress is being made. The same lie we've been told since February and March. Or March, not February. The decision also followed an Omani delegation arriving in Tehran for talks on a new arrangement to open up the Strait of Hormuz, with Trump claiming additional progress there, though Iran denies any talks are taking place. Additionally, a source close to Iran's Ghalibaf assesses the operational silence of the past 15 hours as a prelude to an intensification of attacks and not a new attempt at negotiations, with the U.S. military still preparing plans for a return to major combat operations. And yeah, that's what it's likely going to be. That's what it's likely going to be. So we're taking a break on the weekend, and we're going to decide what we'll do after Big Boss Netanyahu arrives in Washington on Monday or Tuesday. Disgusting. But yeah, that's that. But you got to like it sometimes when, look, he's an old man. He shouldn't be president. He's trash, okay? Now that that's over with, I do like when he shits on reporters. It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny. Anyways, let's see. See what we got here. Yo, did you guys see this? I'll quickly go over this. I don't want to make this super long, okay? But it's just really worth mentioning. All right, I had a clip of this black girl in Europe that I wanted to talk about, so we'll talk about that. But this is just too good. You got to love this. So, Lamine Yamal, star player of Spain, kid's 18, 19. He's a star. Amazing soccer player. They're regarding him as one of the best in the world despite his age. Came onto the scene, signed with Barcelona, I think it is, when he was like 12 or some shit. You know, these soccer niggas just be preying on young kids and then turning them into phenoms. But anyways, so this reads here, and obviously he's had a few girlfriends. Okay, and this is this is the latest girlfriend. She says here, Lamine Yamal's girlfriend Ines Garcia posted a new video after receiving backlash online for leaving her ex-boyfriend. So did you guys see any of it? I don't want to be too drama here, but like this girl allegedly was in a relationship with some guy like not that long ago and left him for Lamine Yamal, which is like not hard to believe. Nothing is conspiratorial about that whatsoever. And she's been going on Instagram like addressing these rumors, but this is the photo that's going viral, okay? And this is to tell you, look, I know you guys are saying red pill's not real. Brother, red pill is reality. It is a necessary evil that exists with us. It lies in reality, and there's nothing you can do to change it. And at what time is it more obvious than now, where you have just such a discombobulated, array of status of men. You have men who are soccer stars like Lamine Yamal with global stardom. He's got millions and millions of followers. Maybe billions of people know him because he's a soccer star. He just won the World Cup. And you got guys who work a blue-collar job and weld until they're 65 and never make a social media and are 300 pounds. We live in a lopsided world, and as a result, hypergamy has never been more obvious. This is not the 1950s where every fucking coal worker or Ford factory worker is going to guarantee they get a good girl. No. You're now competing with the Lamine Yamals and the Ronaldos and the Tom Bradys, and you can thank that to the connection of the world via the internet and social media. But this here is the photo that was going crazy. I guess this is her with her ex-boyfriend at some point in the past. I don't know how far back this was. Probably not that far back because she's 21. And then this is her with Lamine Yamal. So, but this here reads, Ines Garcia, 21, female Spanish influencer from Seville, was dating a regular guy with only 1,500 followers, dumped him in just 2 weeks after Spanish football player or superstar Lamine Yamal, 50 million followers, showed interest, now enjoying luxury dates in Greece with the famous 18-year-old player. This is called hypergamy. Men don't understand this simple concept. She is never yours. It's just your turn, especially if she's famous. And it's like, I've echoed this idea. I've echoed this reality for months. I always have a couple segments on my streams where I go into this stuff. And look, I don't know how true this is. I haven't done my research, really. So I don't want to slander the girl if this isn't true. We'll watch the video she made in a moment. Although she's talking in Spanish, so I suppose I'll read the caption and just translate for you guys. But this is what it is, okay? This is the reality we live in. And it's just true. I've said this before, and I shall say it again to remind the masses, to remind the goyim, to remind you silly ones at home if you think this isn't true. You have let's say a girl who's a 5. A girl who is mildly attractive on her best day, like a Super Saiyan mid 5. That same girl is going to receive an equal, if not greater amount of attention than a guy who is well-established financially, well-established socially. He looks good. He's in good shape. He's tall. He's funny. He's witty. He's charismatic. He's emotionally available. He has straight white teeth. A 5 female is equivalent to the male that I just described to you. And that's just the way it's been. That's the way the cookie crumbles now. And so when that 5 gets onto Instagram or Twitter or any social media platform, now it's X, TikTok, and especially on TikTok. I'll tell you about the TikTok part in a moment. She's going to get a plethora of attention and or validation that she otherwise would not have received if she lived in like 1993. And so now you see girls with this uptick of this pompous, pretentious energy, and it's almost not even their fault because they're getting this mass array of just pure validation and attention and thirsty, salivating men in their DMs following them. So walk through this with me. You're a female 6, 5, maybe a 7, and every week you get 4 or 5 at minimum. I'm being conservative here and moderate with these numbers just to really display to you how bad it is. 4 or 5 new followers on Instagram. And of these 4 or 5 new followers, these become new story likers. These become new guys reaching in your DM every other time you post a selfie. These become new guys that talk about you in their group chats and want to get after you and see you in public and all of this stuff. And you got to imagine on a long enough timeline, these girls turn into dickheads. They turn into assholes. And again, it's not even their fault because we are giving them what is turning them into the problem that we struggle to deal with. And it's because of social media. It's because of desperate men who are riddled with limerence and or lust that just can't help but give girls all of this attention. And it's like, brother, you can deal with those problems without making women have a God complex, without giving women the idea that they are better than others because of solely their looks. And this is the reality we deal with. And this is a prime example, but this isn't the only example. There's so many others. And by the way, hypergamy is not even the end of it. Girls obviously step up, right? They'll always date the better and next guy, the next and best guy. There's no secret there. Everybody knows that. That's just a given, right? That's necessary of existence. And it makes sense. But even look at Tom Brady's situation. He lost his wife to a jiu-jitsu guy, a jiu-jitsu trainer. You know, we're talking about a 6'4" Chad. Like, Tom Brady's a good-looking guy. He's 6'4", the best quarterback of all time, America's favorite sport. He was Mr. America, and he had this supermodel wife, and all she's known for is being good-looking, and here she goes dating somebody else because he wasn't giving her enough attention. I mean, women just live in an era now where the options are endless. And also, gotta be a little careful with this, but their freedom is endless. Look, women have endless freedom now. Women represent so much more of the workforce in the corporate world and every other segment really than they ever have before. And so they have this autonomy that they've never had. And so you combine this autonomy, you combine this financial freedom, women make a ton of money now, you combine the fact that a lot of them are educated now, and then the fact that they're getting this plethora of attention, men are just used condoms to them. Men are just rags. And women are really pumping and dumping men now. And so you see Ronaldo's girl is doing the weird stuff online, Georgina, I guess. You got Tom Brady's girl full on leaving him. Lamine Yamal, I hope he knows it's just his turn. She's going to turn around and do this to him at some point in the future with maybe like a jiu-jitsu trainer. That's how it usually goes. Everybody's girl is on their way out, bro. They are absolutely 1,000,000% without a doubt, no hesitation, going. Okay? They're all going. And you just see shit like this and it's demoralizing, it's sad, but it's true. And look, if I have a daughter, and this is going to be controversial here, but I'm giving credit to women in some degree, I guess, right? If I have a daughter and she's dating some super average Joe, right? Or she's married to some super average Joe. Not married. Married is far too extreme. She's dating. Even though my daughter wouldn't be dating, let's just go through the theory. Let's be theoretical for a moment, right? My daughter was dating, and she's with this average Joe, decent looking guy, honest guy, good kid, makes some money, whatever, supports her. He has ideal qualities. And Lamine Yamal pulls up on my daughter. I'm going to tell her, hey, honey, don't get with Lamine Yamal. Stay with your man. Like, this is the moral thing to do. But, like, am I really going to be mad at her? You almost can't blame them. You almost can't blame them. And this is the power that looks and constant attention from men, serves them. This is what it earns them. A date with Lamine Yamal, global soccer superstar, multi-millionaire. And so, like, these things are simple. People think when you say red pill, it's like red pill rage and fuck girls. And it's like, no, it's not that. It's just she's going. The red pill, this is it. The red pill is she's going. That's it. It's not any more complicated than that. You don't need to even make all these functions of it. And my brother does a great job at that. But if you're too dumb and dense to get it, simplify it to this. Red pill means she is going. And it's just your turn. And within the red pill, you have actions and mannerisms that you must follow, whatever, holding frame and all of that. And that should just be something that comes naturally. And that should be from self-instilled confidence, from success and proving yourself right and doing what you say you'll do. And that'll come off. And that's attractive to women. And women have that sixth sense. We know this. Women have a sixth sense. Women can smell and discern as to who's a bitch and who's not. I'm telling you. If you're a guy who's about your business, the girl will know she's stepping into your world. Okay? But a lot of these niggas out here be stepping into the girl's world. And that's where you lose them. Bro, she's going even if she steps into your world. She's going even if you're Tom Brady. She's going even if you're Lamine Yamal, if you're Ronaldo. It doesn't matter. She's going. In the rare case you get a Messi, good for him. But increasingly, as we move forward, as we progress into 2027 and 2028 and 2030, the issue doesn't seem to be getting any better. It's getting far worse. Okay, and so the greatest thing to understand is she's just going. But the best thing that you can do is have her step into your world, so when she leaves your world, nothing is changed when she eventually goes. You need to put yourself in a position where you're not destroyed and distraught when a girl leaves you or things break off. How many guys do you know that date a girl for 5 or 6 years, whatever it is, and they break up and the guy is disheveled, his whole life is done? Dude's crying, dude's a mess, and it's okay, you can cry, but like these niggas are crying on TikTok. I saw a video the other day of this guy who was crying on TikTok because his fiance and him broke off and he had to move into his own apartment and he was 29 or 30. Nigga, welcome to the game. You're getting started. Have fun. There's an optimistic side to that, and it's the fact that you're still a man. You still have time. You could be 35 and no girl's going to be icked out by that. Girls love older women who are accomplished and established and have been through the world and done their rounds. They know their thing, and you won't age the same physically. You'll still look good, take care of your body. You're not on the same time clock as them. You've still got semen later on in your 40s and even your 50s. For a girl, by 35, you're really playing a dangerous game by not already having a child. So we're not on the same time clock. Enjoy. Don't be in a rush. Don't be crying and fucking pulling teeth out if you lost a girl at 24 or 25. Brother, she wasn't the one. You got time. And she was probably going anyways. You better be happy that she went before she married you, because you would have had half a fucking couch and half a house and half a truck. At least she left when you didn't have any marriage or anything binding upon the both of you, so that when you divorce, she can take everything and the divorce lawyer destroys you. So like what I don't understand what everybody's so mad about being single and being broken up with. Like, bro, she's going. Just understand it's a reality. It's a reality. God forbid. God forbid a girl goes. God forbid you lose a girl. Bro, there's millions of them. There's billions of them. So many pretty women. And guys, you know, I see these niggas hung up on girls. And I'm looking at the girl and I'm like, okay, she's not religious. She's not modest. She's not quiet. She has an Instagram. What the fuck are you crying for? What are you crying for exactly? What, did you lose some remarkable diamond in the rough? Like, gang, God did you a favor. Niggas this is gonna be good. Niggas lose their girl and start crying up a storm, depressed and everything. Whole time, their girl was on Instagram in bikini photos. Their girl was having multiple male friends that they were hanging out with outside of you, away from you. Their girl was defying them, arguing with them, yelling at them, masculine. What are you crying for? You just got a blessing bestowed upon you by the Lord, and you're crying. Yo, I see these guys crying, and I'm like, oh man, you know, I sit down and console them. I'm like, damn, bro, you must have lost the one. You must have lost a keeper. I mean, you know, who was she? And then bro tells me, XYZ, it's the neighborhood thought. It's the townie thought. It's the girl that I heard a story about 3 years ago that like sucked some guy off in some bar bathroom. And you're crying because you lost her. Thank God you lost her. You know what I mean? So Drama, thank you for the one gifted. So, look, there's good girls out there. A little bit harder to come by, increasingly difficult to come by. And then, look, I'll make the same argument for men. Hard to come by a good guy, certainly. I sympathize with the girls on that. But, you know, these guys be distraught and hurt about, like, losing thoughts, like losing whores. So it's like twin. Actually, you're just about okay where you are. And it's like, bro, be a man, be a man. I just can't. I gotta get on an alternate platform. I see these guys on Instagram and all the socials, and they take a selfie with their girl. Me and my boy spoke about this yesterday. And it's okay, you smile in the selfie, that's fine, right? But these niggas are like cheesing. You know when somebody's smiling because they're just smiling for the photo versus when somebody's genuinely like cheesing, like actually happy they're there. And you see these guys like ear to ear, full 32 teeth, smile with their girlfriend, and they post it on their Instagram. And their girl is like in this revealing dress. And then we wonder why OnlyFans is making girls like Sophie Rain millions of dollars a month. And we wonder why, I think it's 1 in 3 men, or what is it? I think it's 70% of men, or around 70% of men under the age of 30 are single right now, or not married. So, you know, and it's getting worse. It's getting far worse. And people say, oh, the divorce rate is dropping though. Yeah, because the marriage rate is dropping, dumbass. No one's getting married anymore. So things are getting worse, and as things are getting worse, men are just getting softer. And they say, oh, but the girls want us to be soft. Okay, why are you asking the girl what she wants? Last time I checked, the girl really doesn't know what she wants. Women don't really make those kinds of decisions well. That executive function's not always there. Girls don't, you know, they don't know what they want for lunch. They don't know what they want in a guy. And I know this because I'll have a girl complain and say, oh, I hate that guy. I hate that guy. He does this, he does that. He's a piece of shit. And then 3 weeks later, I find out they hooked up. So it's like what girls say and what they do tend to be two different things. And so we understand that reality, and facing that, you still go and listen to everything she asks of you. I want you to be more emotional, and I like when you cry. Don't do that. Don't do that. And the real spill is just be yourself. Be a man. Be masculine. Don't be ashamed of that. Don't listen to the, oh, you're toxically masculine and you're, fuck that. Okay? I'll show you the TikTok, and I don't want to blow the guy's, you know, shit, pause. But, I mean, he dropped the TikTok himself. So, it's already probably got millions of views. So, I don't think I'm doing anything with my 600 measly viewers here and hurting him anymore. But you gotta see this. You gotta see this. Let me see if I can find it for you guys. And I'll catch up on some chats in a second. Whatever happened to the Lamine Yamal story? Forget that story. This is worse. This is worse, twin. Like,
a lot of you guys are
so look, in no way, shape, or form am I attacking this guy. Poor guy, he's going through it. You know, I knew this guy for a while on TikTok. He'd always come up on my For You page because he had this like hair loss journey where he's trying to get his hair back. Looks good now. You know, and first of all, just off of the bat, look at the guy. Handsome young guy, in shape. You can see he's got some muscle density here. He's got some broader shoulders, whatever. He's got some arms going. Clearly, the guy's in good shape. He's obviously young. He's physically fit. Decent looking guy. And just listen to this.
going to be seeing my background change, and it's because me and my fiance have separated. So I am starting over at 30 with nothing because of the living situation. I don't have the dogs. I don't have family out here. I'm in a different state.
And I just want to say, at the outset of all of this, in no way, shape, or form do I not sympathize with the situation. That's terrible. The problem is, Twin is filming this. Twin, don't film this. Okay? We'll get with the video, but I just can't bear and listen to it any longer without saying this. It's so important. Look, you lose your wife, you lose your kids, you lose your dog. I don't know if he had kids with the girl. If he didn't, then he's totally fine. Whatever. You got to switch up the setting. You can cry all day. And by the way, if he was my friend, or if I had a friend who gone through this similar situation, he could sit down with me and he can cry all day. Don't film yourself crying. Okay? This is a massive, and I don't mean to look at this from too much of a functional perspective, right? I sound like a robot, but this is like a huge strategic W for his ex now. Bro's crying in a house alone with no furniture. And people say, oh, but it's good to open up and it's good to... Don't share your spills and your catastrophes on the internet. Your issues in your personal life, especially when it is a man crying that he lost his girl and he's 30 and he's in good shape and he's good looking. And by the way, I thought he would have deleted the video by the time I favorited it. I remember I had this video set from like 2 weeks ago to react to. It's still up.
And I'm just alone. And I just moved in to my apartment that I got approved for. And I guess I just want to document this for myself and see what I can look back on of how I'm feeling mentally and take this time to improve and reflect and grieve. Felt really blindsided by this. I'm just feeling a whole bunch of things, to be honest. So it's really hard for me to share this publicly, but I think that there's a lot of people that deal with heartbreak and it's not fun. So I'll keep you guys posted.
So by the way, he could have easily done this video, and I'm saying don't share your grievances in your life. Don't share personal things like that. But if you do, so be it. Fine. Don't cry. You know, so don't do this, okay? And it's all girls in the comments supporting him, and it's like, gang, they're laughing at you internally. They're not supporting you. This is not pee. Men should not be crying on camera. You shouldn't cry in front of a woman. I believe that as well. But you really, really shouldn't be crying on camera. This video's gotten 500,000 likes. And he's 30. The guy's crying. What are you crying for? You're fucking 30. You're 30. You're young. You got a full head of hair, it looks like. You're in good shape. You're a good-looking guy. Go fucking conquer the world. Go figure it out. Go make some money. Now you got a lot of free time because your girl's not demanding all of your damn attention. Go do something with that free time. Furnish your apartment. Find some friends. Make some friends. You ain't got no friends. Make some friends. Go out. Walk around. Talk to somebody. Do something. You know, who's being helped by watching you cry online? Oh, some other guy going through it. If you're a guy and you're going through something and you need to see another guy cry to feel better, you're a bitch, okay? There's other ways to go about your problems. We don't need to cry together. We're fucking men, okay? That's for girls. Leave the TikTok crying sessions for the girls. Men don't do that, okay? Oh, but that's so toxically masculine. And I'm sorry, there's things that men and women should and shouldn't do. And one of the things that men certainly shouldn't do is cry online seeking sympathy from women that would laugh in your fucking face if they met you in real life because you're the guy that cried online in that viral video because your girl left you. The fuck? You should be making a video in a Lamborghini the next day saying, I left that bitch with your boy, and then return it to the rental company. Fuck it, who cares? Don't pose as weak. No one respects or likes weakness. So we've got to be better. And this is why we live in this world. This is a problem. It's like the fact that that's normalized, the fact that no one's reprimanded him for that is unbelievable. Dude's 30, you know? If he was 60 and he had 4 kids, now I'm really getting it. But he's 30. And by the way, guys go through way worse than that. Guys have like 4 kids with the girl that they love, and then she leaves them because she cheated, or she leaves him because she got caught cheating, and he has nothing at the end of all of it. She takes the house too. And he's crying because he lost his fiance and like a dog. Get a new dog, nigga. Get a new dog and fuck a new bitch. You know, people say I oversimplify things. Maybe that's your fucking problem, is you don't. People say, Ryad, you're oversimplifying it. It's deeper than that. You don't understand. No, you're completely right. I don't understand. And you're overcomplicating it. I'm oversimplifying it. And me making it simple makes me better than you. It makes me handle the thing better than you. It makes me deal with the grief and the misery better than you. So who's doing it right? Who's doing it right? He needs to go to therapy. Go to fucking therapy. He needs to cry. Cry to your friends. I'm not saying you can't do that. Don't do it on camera. What does the 500,000 likes make you feel better? People are supporting you? Like, dude, you're a man, you know? So I don't want to, look, I'm attacking the guy. I'm really just giving advice to you guys. And I do this now because I've realized I'm looking at my Instagram followers and people following me on X and stuff. A lot of you guys are younger. I see a lot of 17, 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds DMing me and asking me for advice and stuff. So hopefully this hits home. This resonates with somebody. This can shift somebody in the right direction if they're already going in the wrong one. You know, I don't want any guy to ever have the wrong idea about these things, so I'll make these things clear if you follow me and you listen to me. But never do that. Never, ever do that. Never do that. We need to bring back the time where men had a little bit more shame, a little bit more toxic masculinity, a little less of that. Because things are shifting in an unfavorable direction. However, I digress at this point. I shall reserve my comments. Let's take a look at some. Let's see. It's Leo. Ukraine attacked Iran commercial ships and it's on X. Yeah, I saw that. That's crazy. We'll see what develops of that. But yeah, I guess they're getting involved now. Some NATO business, huh? No more NATO paper tiger, I suppose. But we'll see. We'll see. And let's see what else we have here. Someone said, Salam akhi, in the Quran it tells us we should hold firm to the rope of Islam. I know you and Sneeko disagree, but please stay united with Sneeko. You're both Muslim. Sneeko's my Muslim brother, bro. We are united. We are 100% united. Don't worry. We disagree on a lot of things, but no, we're not fighting. I'm not going to fight him. Sammy says, sorry, but Yamal is the definition of money makes a man handsome. That girl there is for the money and clout, certified gold digger. And that's like the craziest part. I mean, dude, regardless of his looks, like, I'm not even talking about that. It's like, babe, you're with him for the bread. I honestly just wish girls would be honest about this and just say, yeah, he's a multi-millionaire global superstar. That's why I'm with him. By the way, I don't take any offense in that. If a girl was dating me, right, and I had millions of dollars and I had a yacht and I had all of these assets, I offered her so much extravagance, whatever it is, I wouldn't mind that she's dating me for those reasons. Exactly what else are you going to date me for? Because I'm cute? That's what I date you for. Okay, I don't need to be cute for you. Now, I want to be a good-looking guy because I care about myself, but I'm not over here. I mean, look, niggas do things for bitches. I'm not going to lie. Like, guys do things for the girls, but you know, ultimately, if a girl tells me, hey, I'm just with Ryad because, or I find out through some way, or I just understand she's with me because of my value, I'm going to say, okay, that's why you should be with me. My daughter comes to me and says, I'm going to marry this guy because he's a doctor and he's ultra successful. I'm going to say, good job. That's what you're supposed to do. So I don't even want to demonize being a gold digger or whatever you would frame that as. Maybe gold digger is a little bit more of a pejorative term. I don't know if I want to use that. But in this instance, obviously she's a gold digger, right? Because she left her man and she's with him for nothing else than the money and the fame. So this is her explaining herself. And she's speaking Spanish, but she said, I'm not dating Lamine because of his money or fame. And no one believes you. Not even the feminists believe her. You know? Okay, you're just dating him because he's a nice guy, right? So it's like, can we just cut the LARP out? She says, I have my own money. Okay, you don't have nearly as much money as him, nor fame, because no one knew who the fuck you were before you started dating him. And since me and Lamine started dating, I have bought him things more than he has bought for me. Really? Really? Okay, that makes up for the fact that at any time you could just dip into his bank account, right? That's like hilarious. That's like, you know, if you're a multi-gazillionaire and you're dating some girl who has no money, and then she takes your money and buys you like a Lamborghini, and you're like, oh, thanks, I guess. And even if she's rich, it doesn't take away from the fact that you're with him because he's offering you more money and or clout and or fame and or social status, things that all contribute to your motivation in wanting him and being with him. So it's just, that's like laughable. I bought him shoes. I bought him this. I bought him that. Okay, maybe because your love language is like gift giving. That doesn't mean that he's the gold digger now. What does that mean? He's the gold digger now? But anyways, she says, I got him many expensive things, but he has only bought one pair of slippers that's not even worth up to $75 for me. Okay, so now she's fucking complaining. Now you're indirectly complaining. He's just bought me slippers. Hey, this is your $1 million gift right here. This photo. Like, that photo is your $1 million gift. She says he hasn't gotten me anything except a $75 pair of slippers. You're holding the World Cup trophy, and billions of people have seen this photo, and you get to walk around and say, I'm dating Lamine Yamal. There's your gift, babe. And it's like, how dumb do you have to be? We're talking about materialistic things. We're talking about tangible things. We're talking about materialism. You are dating a superstar with millions of dollars in the bank, hundreds of millions. Every girl would throw herself at him. You're with him, and you're taking a picture with the World Cup trophy in your hands, which you did nothing to get. And God bless her, let her have fun. You take your picture, good for you. That's your man. But don't go around saying, but I bought him a $75. The only thing he's bought me is a $75 pair of slippers. Okay, you're dating him. Enough said. Case closed. And she goes on here. What else does she say? She said this while showing off the expensive sneakers she got for Lamine. Like, bro, Lamine probably sees what she buys him and goes, I'm not wearing that. Or I don't need that. You know what I mean? Like, kid's a multi-millionaire. But anyways, we love Lamine Yamal. I love Lamine. I want him to stay safe. Stay away from these girls. He's Muslim. So, haramery. But I mean, what do you expect out of a global superstar who's got millions and millions of followers? But I like Lamine Yamal a lot. He's a good kid. I watched his like house tour on YouTube. Really like him. Great soccer star. Great football star. I guess the soccer nerds are going to correct me here. But yeah, stay away from the girls, bro. Or at least keep them off social. You know, look, this is what I don't get. You want to have a girl and you're like some Muslim superstar. Okay, haram, you shouldn't do it. We disavow that. But can you hide her? Like, why is Gag popping out with her? Like, just hide her. Keep her in the shadows. You know? She ain't gonna complain. She's still with you. Sign the NDA. Stay with you. But hey, that's just me. Anyways. Let's see. User says, Ryad, how do you feel about the UK grooming gangs going on? I really never looked into them. If they're true, of course I condemn it. I haven't looked into it. But any sort of situation going on with a grooming gang or anything like that, if there's any realism to that. I don't know. I don't look into it. I hear numbers and I hear conflicting numbers. So that's why I say I don't know how crazy it actually is. But look, if there's grooming gangs going on, we condemn that. That's not representative of Islam. And if that starts to make headlines and that really comes about in the United States and we start talking about that, that's a conversation I have no problem in having, condemning Muslims for it. Because that's not an Islamic practice. Anything a Muslim does that's not representative of Islam needs to be disavowed and or condemned by people who actually try to represent the religion correctly. So of course I condemn the grooming gangs or any violence, anything like that from Muslims. And then Muslims hear that and think I'm going against them and taking somebody else's side. No. We have an internal issue. We need to condemn these people to the world so people know that we're not like that. Simple concept, but again, people make it so much more than it is. Ignore those who say cut off Sneeko, Islam first. Yeah, of course. Look, me and Sneeko are cool. Like, outside of this, like, all this streaming stuff is, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're cool. We're cool. Crashed out a little bit the other night, but we're cool. You know, we're chilling. We're chilling. Let's see. Yeah, I believe they're true, but I really don't know much about them. God honest truth. And then also, you know, this is the thing too. This is the last thing I'll go through here. Got this lovely black girl here, okay? Very pretty girl. And she's talking about how she went to Europe and now she likes the United States. So I love this video. It was delightful to watch. Because the libs just always cry and hate this country and say they want to wipe the country's flag on their ass.
Until my recent trip to Portugal, where I now resonate with that. I am the most unpatriotic person you'll ever meet. Don't like this country, and especially with all that's going on with the world and the things that this country perpetuates. And I have always been like, I can't wait to leave America. Like, America sucks, it's so shitty. But admittedly, the 3 times I've been to Europe, I couldn't wait to come back to the things that I admittedly have taken for granted. For example, I just came back from Portugal. I was there 10 days. I did not even think to look up if my accommodation had AC. It did not, and I was there during a record-breaking heat wave. I went to the reception at 1 o'clock in the morning. The receptionist was passed out on the floor. He had passed out from lack of heat. And the hotel I was staying at, they were saying when I had checked in that they can't install elevators and they cannot install AC because it's in a historical part of Lisbon. And yeah, like, understandably, it was scorching hot. Mind you, I live in a desert, so I know what hot is like. Just imagine it being hot and then you're not able to even get a reprieve. Like, you would walk around, especially with it being Lisbon, you'd walk or hike around town and then want to come home or back to your accommodation and want to take a nap.
And this is the problem. I mean, I'm assuming she's just like some black American, but this is the problem with like Americans who don't have some homeland that they may visit. Obviously, I'm first gen. My parents were born in Sudan. I've been to Sudan, and it was great because I got to meet family and learn my culture and speak better Arabic. I got better at Arabic. That was short-lived. My parents are probably laughing watching this, but you know, when I was there, I think at 12 years old, the biggest thing that happened to me is like, I was like, wow, I'm actually a patriot. Please take me back to the United States. Bro, AC goes out 10 times a day. You're lucky if you have AC sometimes. I was going to say kahraba. Wow, that was really Arabic. The electric is always going out 5-6 times a day on those hot days in the summer. I think it's gotten a little better. And then obviously the war kicked off. And it's just not the same. You don't have the same first world country amenities that you have here in the United States. It's not the same. The roads aren't paved. Like, it's just the little things you don't even think about. And the big things you think about. You want to go take a shit, you got to squat down in a hole. So a lot of these people that are born here hate this country. They don't understand there's nothing outside of this country. Name me a country that's better than America. I'll really wait. People say Dubai. Dubai is shit. It has no soul. Dubai has no history. It has no soul. There's no richness to it. And they're genociders. So fuck Dubai. Fuck the UAE. People always talk about these different countries. France sucks. I've been to France. Spain sucks. I've been to Spain. I do like Spain a little bit. But they are shit in the face of the United States. Again, it's the little things. You walk into a corner store. No AC. Hot as hell in Europe. It's just the little things that you don't appreciate about the United States. And all of the economic opportunity. People flee from wherever they are and come to the U.S. for a reason. Immigrants want to be here desperately. Google, Nvidia, Amazon, Tesla, MIT, Princeton, Harvard, Yale, Caltech. It's all here, nigga. The money and the motion is here. There's no reason to be ashamed of being an American. America has everything. We have everything. It is without a shadow of a doubt the best country in the world. And people get mad because of a little foreign policy and a Republican president who says that he wants to put America first. And obviously he's pro-white, but who cares? White people are going to be pro-white anyways. What are they going to be, pro-black, stupid ass? And then they get mad and say, I fucking hate America, even though that's not even representative of America all the time. Us bombing Iraq is not American. There's nothing American about that. That's anti-American. Us bombing Iran is anti-American. It's pro-Israel, and that's why we talk about those things. But people conflate the two and say, America's this evil empire and it stole it from the natives. Okay, nigga, where are you from? Was your country just naturally indigenous from 10,000 years back before Christ? Enlighten me. Is there no conquest that exists between your bloodline? Stupid. That's the way of the world. I hate when people do that. America stole land. So did every other country. So did every other empire. The Romans stole a bunch of land. The Ottoman Empire stole a bunch of land. Shut up. That's how many of the countries that we know today exist. From these brutal empires that would go into local areas and steal land and kill and do other things that I can't say on YouTube as a means of conquest. That's the way the world works, okay? It's a necessary evil we unfortunately have to live with and accept. That's how we're here right now. And America and America this and America that. And these are the same people that enjoy the fruits of the country. And so it's nice to see this girl actually have some semblance of appreciation for the country after going to Portugal and almost dying in the heat. And she goes on here. But this is that liberal shit. And this is why I tell Sneeko and I tell everybody else, I separate myself from these people because they have this like unbelievable hate within themselves to the country that they're born in. Okay, you don't have to hate the country. You can love where you're from. You don't have to hate the country. So, bro, and I'm literally a perfect example and embodiment of that. I literally pray, I fast on Ramadan, I give zakat, I do what I'm supposed to do as a Muslim, and I say these things and I tell Muslims to pray. I have tons of Muslim friends. But me and all of my Muslim buddies here in the United States live a pretty good life, contrary to what you may hear. You know? Of course, there's people who try to persecute Islam and say we're terrorists but these are the same ideas. This is the same rhetoric that's been floated around since the 9/11 terrorist attacks. And today they don't hold up that well. Everybody shoots these ideas down. Most Americans now believe 9/11 was an inside job, especially under the age of like 30 or 40. So it's actually not the case that people are persecuting Muslims. All of my friends own businesses. One of my good friends, he's Palestinian and Egyptian. He has a super successful business in New Haven that he just opened up, serving Moroccan cuisine, doing a great job, fast grab and go. He's doing well for himself. I've got other friends that own other business. I got a buddy that owns a detailing business. I got a buddy that owns a phone service repair business. They're doing well. They're Muslim Americans. They speak Arabic and English. They pray in the mosque. Nothing's wrong with them. They're fine, and they enjoy the fruits of this country. Are they happy that this country is destroying their homeland? Of course not, but they know that's not actually representative of what this country stands to do. We have a corrupt GOP that is captured and completely hijacked or brainwashed by Israel, and that's what we need to attack. Not the country in and of itself, not America in and of itself, and there's too much conflation there, and people get lost in the weeds. So, I really can't stand that. And I've always had a good time or an easy time conceptualizing that and understanding it, but other people seem to struggle with it. And it's because they don't want to seem like they are, I don't know, appeasing to the white man. You know, when you do that, you're giving white people even more power. So how about you just don't say that? You're cucking for the white man. You're slaving to the white man. Okay, by you saying that, you're inadvertently also admitting, because you don't intend to, and you're so dumb you don't even realize what you're doing, but you're admitting that they have power over you. Don't mention it. Don't mention it. You have vested interest in your own people? Good. That's called tribalism. Everybody has it. Go work on your own people. Stop complaining about others that aren't doing anything to you. I could sit here all day and cry about how certain people shit on Islam, or I can go open like 5 businesses in my city. Do you understand what I'm saying? I just feel like that's so clear. I feel like that's so easy to understand, but the liberal mind, like this girl and others, just struggle to grasp. Because for them, their appetite is victimization. Without it, I don't think they can live. For me, I shall never be a victim. I try hard not to be a victim. No one's going to tell me if I'm dumb or I'm smart or if I'm capable or if I'm incapable or if I'm being persecuted, and they say something about Islam, now I'm crying. And it's like, you could stay over there and do what you're doing. I'm going to go win. I'm going to go get money. It's a winning mindset. You cannot have this defeatist, always crying, always saying we're being attacked mindset. You got to get up and mobilize, you know, and then people blame it all back on the country, bro. This country has everything. This country, that's why everybody comes here. And we do need to acknowledge that. I'm not saying you got to wave around the American flag and put an American flag outside your house. You know, somebody suggested for me to put an American flag right there. I said, no, it's kind of cringe, actually. So, yeah, I'm patriotic. I love the country, but, like, I don't take it that far. And I'm, like, over here overdoing it, self-aggrandizing, like, as if I'm this, like, veteran patriot. Like, no, but I appreciate this country. I show appreciation for it. I love it. I'm happy I'm from here. And my parents like it, too. My parents love Sudan, and they love this country. They came here. They got a better life. And they enjoy it. My parents don't walk around and complain and loathe and cry that the United States is persecuting them. You know, my father earns 6 figures a year. My mother makes good money. Like, they're chilling. You know what I mean? So you have two options. And it takes people to leave the country and go to Portugal, which is not even that bad of a country, to go to a decently developed country. Or even I hear these stories from people going to the UK. I hear these stories from people going to France, Germany. They say it sucks. I can't wait to get back to the US. I see these TikTok trends of girls putting this patriotic sound behind the video of them in the customs coming back on the airport coming back on the plane in the airport because they're so happy from wherever they were on vacation, because it highlighted to them how much better the US is than any of these other countries. So we should always just have, you know, that in our minds. It does nothing to just shit on the country, by the way. It's useless. It's useless. Okay, let's say we do want to shit on the country. What's that going to achieve? Nothing. So there's no point in wasting your time doing it. Now you attack the government, way different. And that's not what I'm saying you can't do. And this is where people misrepresent my position and misunderstand me. You can attack the government all day. I do it every day. I do it every day, actually. But that's much different than just hating the country and saying, I want to wipe my nose with the flag, like these DSA candidates. They're psycho. They're crazy. They're Antifa. They're borderline terrorists. And if they had it their way, they'd kill every non-minority. That's what they want to do. They're crazy. So we have to be careful of this. Like, let's not be hijacked by this victimization mentality that produces nothing but negativity. All of this nihilism. It's encompassed into this idea that we're being oppressed when no one's oppressing you and you can get up and go get after it. So
you can't even comfortably take a nap because it's just hotter inside than it is outside. It was just stifling. So America, we have AC. That was one luxury that I'm just like, this is like something that I didn't even think was a luxury. And I know that sounds ignorant, but it's just like, I didn't even think to look up if a hotel did or did not have AC. Having to pay extra for ice, and this is gonna sound super small, but I don't like using air dryers. I've always used paper towels when I wash my hands. I hate air dryers, and recently I learned that they're very unhygienic and they spread germs. Either way it goes, no paper towels all throughout Portugal in the bathroom.
User BS9's crazy default name. Thank you so much for the 5 gifted. I didn't see this. User also says, oh, thank you for the $10 super chat. He says, you and Myron made me more successful, so for that I thank you. We are the best country in the world. Hey, shout out to you. I'm glad we helped with that. Thank you so much for the super chat. One Chest says there's no excuse to be fat. Yeah, shout out to One Chest. One Chest, put your link in the chat so I can pin it for you. As the official trainer of our community. If you are out of shape, get with One Chest. He will get you in shape. Okay, so let's see. Pop that in there, One Chest, whenever you get the chance.
Always an air dryer. And for some reason, some spots did not even have toilet seats, so you had to squat over the toilet.
Bro, that was brutal when I found that out in Sudan. Bro, I went to Sudan, I'll never forget. I opened the bathroom door. And we honestly, we were staying in an older house. It was my grandfather's house, Allah yarhamu. And, you know, so I didn't know, like, there's a hole in the ground. I'm, like, looking at my parents. I'm like, gang, what do you want me to do with that? And they're like, you know, Call to nature. Do your thing. And I'm like, you want me to squat and shit in that? So I think I didn't take a shit in Sudan for like the first 5 days. I swear. I'm like 12 years old, bro. Imagine, I'm born in America. I know nothing else. I go to Sudan. I open the bathroom door. There's a hole in the ground. I'm like, twin, what am I supposed to do here? They're like, you know, do your thing. Go pee. Go poop.
So on top of hiking from place to place, you have to do squats when you go to the public restrooms. It's just like, oh my goodness. Like, there are some things where just like, I can't even imagine living in another country. And I've always envisioned myself, I'm like, I can't wait to leave America. I can't wait to get out of Dodge. I can't wait to.
That's the funny thing. I can't wait to leave America. Good luck. Good luck. And you know, there's some of this online. People say, oh, I moved to Colombia. I have a better life now and I have 4 girlfriends. Goodbye. Have fun. You're probably going to get murdered in your sleep, stupid. Or these guys who moved to Thailand. So cringe. Like, bro, just stay here and win. You're not going to have any more of a prosperous or successful life outside this country. If you work hard, this country rewards you. It's that simple.
Live far away from this country. And it's just like small things. Those are just things off the top of my head where I'm just like, I can't wait to get back home to like my everyday things. There are just some things I don't think I could compromise on. Okay, it's later in the day. I forgot to add, when I was in Spain, I had never in my life had a man put his hands on me in any country or any place I've ever been. And while I was in Spain, one of the most popular clubs, it has like multi-levels. And I was dancing out of nowhere. This man yanked my hair back so hard, my neck yanked back. And when I turned around, him and his friends burst out laughing. So I'm going to assume that was racially motivated. I can't speak to it, but I'm going to assume so. So Spain, at least Barcelona. I don't want to write off all of Spain, but
Yeah, and that's the thing as well. Yo, she's kind of tough, though. Should I slide in the DM? That's the thing as well. Yo, I really stood out in Spain. I was there for a couple days on a connection. I really stood out. I really stood out. Like, here in the U.S., bro, I'm good. Because there's other blacks walking around. I see my people. I see them. I'm like, my people. I get it. People say, oh, you're Arabic, whatever. But obviously, I'm black, right? So, you know, you go to these European countries, bro. You think America's racist? Go to Europe. Go to Poland. Go to Germany. Actually, Germany's probably not that bad because they have a ton of immigrants. But go to Poland. Go to Spain. Go to Portugal. If you're truly black like me, not some light-skinned, ambiguous, mixed person, if you're truly black like me, go to these countries, see how they'll treat you. I'm sure you probably want to come back to the U.S. Unless you're from like the Bible Belt or the deep, deep South. You know, like if you are from the U.S., if you're from the Northeast or anything like that, the West Coast, you know, metropolitan areas, go to these European countries and see how they treat you. See how they welcome you. You know, people think they know racism. Go over to Europe. Have fun there. You think America's racist? You got no idea. And the world is racist anyways. It's just the way the world is. It's an unfortunate reality. But you think the U.S. is bad, you got another thing coming. You really got another thing coming. But anyways, so yeah, that's really it. That is it for the stream. I'm going to hop off here. Nice little 2-hour stream. Poland is nice but racist. Well, Poland doesn't even accept any immigrants. Southern Spain is more accommodating. Yeah, I'm sure. Look, honestly, black girls deal with racism more than black men. That's true. Black girls deal with racism a lot worse. They're degraded by society a lot of the times, and so I sympathize with them. And I want a black wife. I want a Sudanese wife. So they definitely got a little tougher than us. But hey, sometimes they can be, especially like the ones that are foundational black Americans, they can be loud and rambunctious and annoying and insufferable. But they deal with it. A lot of really sweet black girls who are innocent deal with bullshit too. So I'm gonna marry one. I'm gonna save her from the racists. We're gonna go off into a faraway land. All right. Being funny. Love all of you guys. Let me make sure I'm caught up on chats. Is Myron going live today? I don't believe so. I don't believe he is. User, again, thank you for those 5 gifted. I'm sorry I responded late. But that's really it for the stream. Good news. the U.S. and Iran conflict kind of paused. Bad news is it may resume to an even higher level than before. But we'll wait and see. And then the Houthis and Saudi are now fighting. So we've got two new wars. One that started in March and then one that started today. We'll see what happens, and I'll keep you guys updated as we go through it all in these upcoming days. And really, the better stream will probably be Monday or Tuesday when we react to what Netanyahu's telling Trump and then what the United States decides to do, unless we attack this weekend, which is not off the table. Maybe we'll just attack out of nowhere. So anyways, guys, love all of you. Had a good stream. And Sneeko called me a kafir. Okay, that's bait. There's no way. Have a good rest of your day. It was a good stream. And God bless. I was going to say good night, but I guess good afternoon. Good night, guys.